Hello and welcome to this video. In this video, we're going to be looking at what a component is in Fusion 360. So whenever you create a design in Fusion 360, naturally you're going to be making in an existing component initially. But we can also create a component ourselves. As soon as we do that, we're going to be creating a subcomponent of the existing component. That will transform this existing component, which is indicated by a what do you call it? A cube, is going to be converted into an assembly file. So let's not continue talking about that, and let's just create a new component. Of course, there's several ways you can create a new component. There's one way you can just create a sketch, and then when you extrude, you can essentially select on the menu. I'm just going to put I'm just going to put something like 100. I'm going to press D for sketch dimension and just type 50. Now we're going to hit E to extrude. And what we can do is select new component here. So this will create a new component and it will appear in this area here. So if we go to new component and extrude, say, okay, maybe not, maybe about 50, something like that, you can see we've actually created a new component. However, we don't have it activated. To activate it, we select this little radio button here. Now you're probably wondering, what the hell does activating do? So essentially, when you activate a component, whenever you make any features or sketches, construction planes, which I haven't even mentioned yet, or whatever, it will go inside this component rather than this component, which is now actually an assembly file. And the advantage of that is it's good for grouping all things that are related to a specific component inside that component, rather than, whenever, say, we want to find a certain sketch that we made on this component, we don't have to scroll through millions of different sketches in the main assembly file and which one sketches for that. We go to the component which is relevant, and then we go down into the which doesn't exist at the moment because we haven't made a sketch, and then we just select the relevant sketch file. So let's say we select this component. We can rename it by slow clicking twice. Just call it cube. Actually, it would be a cuboid, I think. I don't know, whatever. So let's say we want to make a sketch. I need to get out of the habit of doing it my cheaty way, which I normally just press R, which is to make a rectangle. But the proper way is to probably go to create and create sketch. Select the face that you want to do it. And let's say I want to create a line down the middle. So we got halfway. You can see the triangle point means the middle. And you see it's black, meaning fully defined. It's fully constrained as well. We can see whatever we do, even this first sketch that we just did, appears in the sketches of the cuboid component. If we had the main assembly file activated, that sketch file would be put into the main assembly sketches folder. If we never activated a particular component and has always had the master assembly file selected, all the sketches we ever did on any component, regardless of what component it is, it would be all in this one folder, and it would just be terrible for traceability of which sketch is for what. Also, one of the advantages, if I just extrude this now, just for an example, actually I'm going to recess this, I don't know, 25 mil just for example, and then let's say we put this back 25 mil or something. you can see that the features that we just did, which is the parametric feature of Fusion 360, are localized directly to this component only. So if we select the radio button for the main assembly file, you can see every single feature or operation we did to any component. At the moment, we only have one component, so it's hard to explain that. So if I just create a new component, well, you can do that as well. I showed it a different way before, but you can create a new component like this as well. I think you also can do it from here, new component. We have the option to select which parent. Well, if we give it a name first off, let's just say what would we make this? I just call it some other component, which is not really a great name, but however, if we select the parent at the moment and it's selected as the main assembly file, that component won't be a child of this component, but will just appear as just another component of the main assembly file. If that makes any sense at all. If we want to make it a subcomponent of this component, so say it's directly related to it, like say if this was a box, for example, and we wanted to make a lid, that lid is, you're going to think, is going to be associated with this box. So we should really make it as a child of the box. So it's yeah. So so if we go on parent and we select on cuboid as the parent, we can choose to activate it from here or not. There's also the choice of doing external and internal, which I don't really get into much in this video, but just to give a short kind of answer to that is, one of the choices you can make in Fusion is to make a component in an external document like this, for example. We could make something like a just make something totally random. 25. Let's just extrude it. 50. There we are. This is a really useful component. So what we need to do is first save it. I'm going to create a new project and call it tutorial. Rabbit P screen. That's a story for another day. So essentially now what we can do is select on tutorial. I'm just going to call this external component. Okay, that's great. You can see we can actually, it's also worth noting actually before I say this, but whenever you change the activate component, the component which is not activated will ghost out like this. So if we go to cuboid and we activate that, it will become a proper, proper shaded shape again. Now, I don't typically like this very much. I can see why it's useful. However, sometimes you want to make a component by using existing geometry. And when it's ghosted out, it's kind of hard to see exactly what you're drawing on. So what I tend to do, I don't really see anybody else doing this, but what I tend to do is go to preferences and go to design and uncheck active component visibility. So this essentially will just stop that whole ghosting behavior of Fusion 360. The problem with that is you got to really look at which component is checked, and it's very easy to have the wrong thing checked to make modifications to the incorrect component. So it's one of those things where you need to double check before you do it. But I still prefer how it looks when it doesn't ghost things out. However, I'm not gonna have it the way I prefer, because it's not really good in terms of teaching. Anyway, so let's say we want to import this external component. What we can do is scroll down and go to tutorial. Now we can drag in our externally made component. We need to save first, so let's just make this and call it main doc or something, I don't know. So once that's saved, now we should be able to do drag in external component. And then we can position it wherever we like. Let's put it here, really totally random, but whatever. Let's just collapse this. Oop, let's not collapse that, because that's, let's say we don't want it as a subcomponent. We can drag it into the main assembly. So now it's a component of itself, and it's not a child of Cuboid's component. You can see it's got a chain link, which means it's linked from an external source, which means that we can't, and you can see again, it's ghosted because it's not the activated component. Fusion in the last half year or something added the ability to modify this shape inside this document. Prior to that, you could not modify components that were externally sourced without breaking the link. So just for example, I'm going to try and modify this, and you'll see that when I extrude, it wants to do a new body, and if I select join, okay, it's just a separate body of Cuboid, which is the one that's activated, which is not what we want, because we were trying to extrude this to make it bigger. So just two ways you can get around that. Let's just delete that. You can either break the link, well, that's interesting. That's the first time I've ever seen that. Let's just 1 second. The selected instance has essential dependent instances. That's interesting. Okay, if this was in the past, you'd be able to break the link, and then this would just be editable as if you made it in this document. So not really sure what's causing that. That's never happened before. Info. The selected instance has some essential dependent instances. Break link is not currently supported. It's currently not supported. That's interesting. Okay, I guess I can't go more on that because that used to work. Interesting. What you can do, as I was mentioning before, you can do edit in place now. So you can see edit in place. So we can edit it. Normally, in the past, actually I should mention this first. If you wanted to make a modification without breaking the link, we'd have to go to the source file of which it's externally referenced. Make the modification there. Let's say we want something stupid. Let's just drag this down 10 mil or something. And then it's like that. 12 mil. Whoops, what's happened there? Not sure what happened there. Okay, so as I mentioned in a previous video, if we don't know what it is that we need to change, we need to constrain this because this doesn't know how long it should be. So we need to press D, and make this about 12. So you can see it's fully defined now because it's all black. We can't move it about. So let's just say we want to extrude some stupid amount off here. Actually, let's just extrude it all off. To object. We could also go to all. It's totally up to you. Okay, let's say that's what we wanted now. Actually, let's just add a fillet. So if we press F and select this corner, and put something like 3. Let's say that we're happy with that for some reason. We're going to save this by doing Control S. We can also go to this document here and go to save. But I prefer to do Control S. We just type in here notch and fillet made. Okay. Now what we can do is go back to the main document. You'll see that we have a warning sign. This is basically saying that, whoop, you have an external document reference to component, but it's out of date. So you need to update it. And to update it, you can right click and go to get latest version, or you can click on this. So now you can see it's updated to the newest version. Also, if you right click and choose version, you can go back to how it used to be, which is pretty cool. So yeah, let's just go back to get latest version. As I was saying about edit in place, Autodesk made it so that you could edit this component in the in this document, so we don't need to go to its source file and just go and click on edit in place. So now if Fusion decides to load, ooh, I like this black bar, always comes up, I love it. Oh, that's just fantastic. Okay, so I guess I'll restart Fusion, which I'll probably lose everything because I don't remember if I saved it. So I'll just get back to that. Just give me 1 moment. And I can't remember which one it is. Okay, so I'm back. Essentially, let's try, just try doing that again. So edit in place. And if Fusion crashes again, I guess I won't be teaching this either. It looks like it's going to crash. Oh, that's fantastic. Okay, so let's complain to Autodesk. Edit in place decides that crashing is a better alternative to working. I'm sorry, that was totally random, but yeah, interesting. So yeah, sorry about that, but unfortunately, edit in place as well doesn't work. So I'd love to show you how it works, but essentially you can make modifications and then confirm the modifications, and it just stays like that, and it modifies the source file to match. Yeah, nothing too complicated. So I think now would be a good time to delete this junk, and I'm going to show you another example of a component, why you'd use a component. So yeah, so okay, so let's create I'm going to create a box and a lid. So we need a rectangle, so press R. I'm going to make this by 100 by 50. And I'm going to press E to extrude. Let's do 50. Okay, that's pretty good. Press home. And you can see this is just created a body in the original component. So we can either right click this and create components from bodies and just call this container. Yeah, container, that's fine. And then we can do a shell. And the shell command just basically digs out material, leaving like a skin of material on the outside. So if we just type 2 mil, if we press inspect and measure, or press I, if we click onto the two faces here and here, we can see that thickness is 2 mil. We press on restart selection, press I. Actually, we've already in the measure mode, but we select here, and here we can see it's 2 mil. So it's essentially a shell command. It's pretty useful. So we want so we wanted rounded corners for whatever reason. Press F to fill it. Press 3. You'll notice if you make it too much, it will just pierce right through it. To get over that, I find, is just create the hold control and press the inner wall as well, and it will that's interesting. Okay, so it looks like there is a bit where it breaks down. But let's say let's make it 5 or something. If you make it on the inside and the outside, they will kind of cancel out, and it will be the same thickness. Yeah, so let's just do hold control and press the other one, and press F, type in, what was it, 5? I think it was 5. So yeah, click OK. And now let's say we want a lid, so we can do new component and call it lid. And as the parent, we can select the container and click OK. And you can see it's turned into a ghost, which is not something I really like, but whatever. So let's say we want to make a lid. The best way I find, the quickest way, is to create a sketch, select this top surface, which you can't really see on this ghost mode, which is why I don't like it. Now what you can do is select this, hold control and select both, press E to extrude, and make it 2 mil as well or something. And make sure you're on, actually, new body's fine because we already created the component. Click OK. So now lid, if you select this, activate the main component so we can see everything. Then we got this. So we got a lid component. So any modifications we do when this is activated, let's say we wanted to make some holes for whatever stupid reason in the lid, we can activate the lid component. I just press L to jump to sketch mode. It's kind of a weird way, but it works. Let's just make a line. Triangle means the middle, so that's good. That's what we want. And click here. And we're going to just click this and press X to make it construction. And now we're going to press C for circle. And we're just going to make a circle on this line and make it like, I don't know, 5 mil. Now we can go press D, right click this circle edge and click on tangent. This is so that it will make a dimension from the edge and not the middle of the circle. So we can click this like that and type in 5 or something. You can see it's gone fully black, which means it's defined, which is great. That's what we want. We don't really want to leave things blue if you can help it. Okay, so now with that knowledge, we can probably just create a rectangular pattern. Select this. Let's just drag it out. And let's make it. What I tend to do actually before doing that is, if we create a line like that and press, oh great, press D, oops, press D, make sure that's 5 away from there. You can see it's gone black. Press X, so it's construction. Go back to create and go to rectangular pattern. We're going to drag this out, and let's say we want I don't know, 5, 6 holes. I like to line that up with the edge. It's just a lazy way to do it, but we can see that is exactly what we needed. We didn't have to calculate anything. And click get out of my way. Yeah, so click OK. And now we click all of these circles and we can extrude and just go to object and hold your left mouse button down and select the relevant face. So it looks like it's about that one. There we go. And make sure it's uncut and click OK. So now we have some stupid holes for no stupid reason. So if we go into the main assembly file and select that, we can see we've got our lid and our container, which is also we have this box, which we should really create another component. Let's call it the box, or let's call it bottom. So we've got the assembly file, which contains all the parts of the subcomponents, and then we have the components itself and the bottom. So we can see if we activate this, we see all the modifications and features and sketches that relate to the subcomponents. And you'll notice that each component has colors represented. So we've got a pink and it's sort of like a pink. And we also have this yellow, which means it's all part of this component here. So it's orangey yellow. Yeah, it looks different. It's different there. If we go to inspect and color toggling cycle, or we press Shift N, we can actually see fully the colors, which component is which. So these are part of the lid, and everything that is interesting. The bottom is this greeny color, which doesn't show as the reason we can't see the colors is because we convert it to a component later on, so we don't get that ability to see it in the right color. Okay, so yeah. So if we ever want to modify the holes, we can go to, say, the lid to narrow down the amount of features, and you can see there's like dash 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 on the timeline, which means that this is the one that's selected. Activate the component, so we only get a shorter list of things, and then we can tell that this, if we hover over it, you can sort of see, you know, this is the thing that made the hole. So we double click on that and we can change let's change this to a 10mm hole and finish sketch. Of course, this is all messed up now, but whatever. We can see that it's changed. Okay. So yeah, that's basically components in a nutshell. Just try and think of a component as like a different object. So if you ever make a wire that needs to connect to a terminal or something in Fusion 360, the terminal will be a component, the wire will be a component. A component really is just a grouping mechanism. That's really it. It's just a group. Some people kind of get confused about what a component is, but and they just say, what's the difference between a body and a component? And a body is just a dumb shape that doesn't have any sort of things. It doesn't have any grouping abilities, like the keep all the sketches related to that shape with it. A body doesn't know about any of that stuff. It just is a body. It's a shape. It's a 3D model, geometry, and that's it. It doesn't have any associations linked to it. So it's kind of one of those things where it's hard to understand at the beginning, but once you do, you're like, it all clicks. The whole thing with the activating the component as well is don't overlook that. For example, if you ever make a joint in Fusion, which I haven't even gone over yet, you need to essentially have components. Joints don't really work. Well, they don't work with straight up bodies. So if you do have a bunch of bodies, you have to do like I showed earlier and go to the body and click on create components from bodies. However, this is already a component called lid and we don't need to do that. So yeah, that's all really components are. They're just quite useful things, essentially. So we can turn off component color cycling and that's it. That's components. I hope you like this video and I'll see you in the next, and hopefully it goes a little bit smoother than this one, but yeah, still learning, and I'm sure it'll be getting better in the future. See you in the next one. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to like and subscribe for more videos like this, or if you found it horrendous, please feel free to insult me in the comments. And while you're here, don't forget to check out the previous video if you haven't already, and the next video. Catch you in the next one.